Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I'm talking about Gedonia 2. And after about an hour and a half of playtime, I've gotta say, this game is exactly what I was hoping for and more. Now before we get started, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you enjoy these first impression reviews. It really helps out the channel and lets me keep diving into games like this one. So, I went into Gedonia 2 with pretty high expectations because I genuinely loved the first game. The original Gedonia had that old school RPG charm. Simple, but satisfying, and I wanted to see how the sequel compared, especially using the same kind of build. So naturally, I went straight for archery again, and right away, I could tell this game built on the first one's foundation in all the right ways. First off, performance was great. The game ran smoothly the entire time. No crashes, no lag spikes, no noticeable bugs. It honestly felt about as polished as the first Gedonia, which tells me that the reason for its early access status isn't polish, it's just content. It feels like the world itself isn't quite finished yet, but it's not that it's rough around the edges. The dev team might have something else to say about this, but my experience has been fairly polished. Maybe that was just the very early game, and that's why. So even though it's technically unfinished, it already plays like a complete and stable experience. Something that really stood out to me in this time was the quest structure. Gedonia 2 feels like one big interconnected chain. I'd start a quest, head to a location, talk to an NPC, and they'd give me another quest. Then while doing that quest, I'd stumble across someone else with yet another quest. Some people might find that frustrating, like you're constantly being pulled off track, but for me, it actually worked perfectly. I have ADHD, and this is just catering to that. I love when a game makes me feel like there's always something worth doing no matter where I go. I'd get sidetracked constantly, but it never felt like wasted time. It was organic, like actual exploration, and I'm a big exploration guy, so yeah. The skill tree in Gedonia 2 is even cooler than the one in the first game. It's got more flair, more structure, more interesting options to experiment with. I definitely had a big look around the archery skill tree, and I can say that there are a lot of new options. There is actually a kick attack that you can get in the archery skill tree, which is interesting. It kind of knocks enemies back, does a little bit of damage. It also does kind of level gate you out of certain levels of the skill tree. So that was kind of interesting. You have to kind of flesh out all of the skills before you can move on. Something that the first game did not do, and that's not a criticism of the first game, but I just really liked it in this game. I stuck with archery again because I wanted that continuity with Nyako. I just love playing this character. The cool thing this time around is that you can actually shoot while moving, unlike the first game. Huge improvement in my opinion. You walk very slow while aiming, but it makes combat flow so much better than before. I don't have to just like stop in place as the enemy is charging right at me. I can just kind of move around a little bit, get in a good position. Very cool. In Gedonia 1, I always felt a little stuck in place while firing. Here it just feels more fluid and responsive. It's a small change, but it makes a big difference when you're trying to kite enemies or reposition mid-fight. I also noticed that Gedonia 2 doesn't hand you a mount right away like the first game did. In the first game, I literally got a mount within the first 5 minutes of playing. It felt like it was telling me, yeah, you're supposed to use this to get around because walking is just too slow. And at first I thought that it might slow things down in this game because I didn't get a mount at all, but honestly it did not. Part of that is because Nyako's agility was so high that I could just run really fast, and I could even double jump, which by the way is awesome, but that little mobility boost really helped me explore and get out of tight spots. But the other reason that I didn't miss the mount is that fast travel exists from pretty early on. There is a waypoint in the first main town you get to, and you can just travel back there. Now I only used it once during my session, but it's there if you need it. The world feels compact enough that you could just run from place to place and still feel like you're getting somewhere, but it still feels open like the first game did. So definitely huge props to the dev team for this, because well done on that. Combat still has that classic RPG feel, a little methodical, a little weighty, but it's definitely smoother than before. The animation lockouts that bothered me in the first Gedonia are still still there, but I just noticed them less. So I think just the animations, maybe they're a little quicker, maybe the lockout is not as long, but I just noticed it less in this game than the first game. You can move and react a bit more freely, and that helps combat feel snappier without losing that deliberate old school rhythm. It's still not trying to be like a heavy duty high action game, and I appreciate that. It sticks to its identity, but it refines it in smart way. I ran into a necromancer boss fight closer to the end of the play session, and that was one of the highlights, honestly. It wasn't a super hard fight. Most of that encounter was getting to the necromancer. I actually had to go through his place so I could lower the drawbridge that I could use to get into the place where I could fight him. That was fun. It was really fun, I have to say. It wasn't a super hard boss fight once I got to the necromancer himself. Maybe I just had a good build, or maybe I just got lucky, but it was just fun. The pacing of it felt classic, like something out of an early 2000s RPG. It's the kind of encounter where you know exactly what's happening. There's no gimmicks, no sudden difficulty spikes, just a straightforward, enjoyable fight. That's something I really miss in a lot of modern RPGs. It's okay to have a complex fight every now and then, but it's also really nice to have a simple fight. You know what's going on, you know your enemy, and you just gotta go in and use the tactics that you've learned the entire game against the boss. Simple as that. What really kept me playing longer than I planned, though, was the atmosphere, and this is something that the first game did well, but this game just captures so much better. Gedonia 2 just has this nostalgic, almost comforting tone. I can't describe it very easily, but even when the stakes are high of the quests that you're doing, there's this sense of lighthearted adventure that runs through everything. It almost reminds me of old school RuneScape. Back when I started playing it when I was in elementary school, the quests don't feel overly grim or melodramatic. They just feel fun. It's like when you gotta get this zombie that's nice, by the way, and he's fallen in love with this female zombie, and you have to go get his heart. Like, it just feels fun. It's the same kind of vibe that I got from the first game, but it's stronger here. And I usually give a new game about an hour for first impressions, but with this one, I had to like force myself to stop playing after I completed that quest, and that was after like an hour and a half of playing, because I just kept wanting to see what was around the next corner. It's just something that you can't really explain so easily, but it just had this very pleasant, nostalgic air about it that is hard to explain or replicate. If you played the first Gedonia, this sequel will immediately feel familiar, but noticeably improved. The controls are tighter, the skill system is deeper, and the exploration just feels better. It's like the developer looked at everything that worked before and said, okay, let's polish that up and make it flow. The game is not trying to reinvent itself. It's refining what already worked, and honestly, that's exactly what I wanted. Overall, I had a great time with Gedonia 2. The archery felt fun and expressive, the quests pulled me in naturally, and the game just exudes that classic RPG charm that's so hard to find these days. If you are a fan of the first Gedonia, you're gonna feel right at home here. And if you're someone who loves old school RPGs with a focus on freedom and exploration, I can absolutely recommend it. I'm definitely going to be playing more of this, and I'll be dragging Jen along for some co-op once she's ready to jump in. I am very excited. Jen, you're not getting out of this one. So that's my first impressions of Gedonia 2. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more reviews like this. I cover indie and classic style games all the time. I love finding those obscure hidden gems, and your support just really helps the channel grow. It really means a lot to me. You guys are awesome. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. You need to relax.